Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Confessions from the Car podcast. My name is Courtney, and I thought about what to say for this first podcast for nearly a week now. I jotted down ideas. I jotted down things I wanted to tell you about myself. I jotted down an array of reasons why I finally launched this podcast after thinking about it initially 3 years ago. I wrote down a ton of stuff, and I'm not going to pay attention to any of it. I'm just going to speak from the heart and tell you why I'm doing this. Full disclosure, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a boundaries coach. But if you, like me, know what it's like to literally become overcome with anxiety when you talk to your parents, or if you've hemmed and hawed about how you're going to set a boundary with your parents, or if you felt like your natural differentiation, the natural path you were led to take in life was interpreted as a portrayal by your parents, then I'd like for you to join me on this journey. I am a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm an author. And my primary writing focus has always been people and what makes them tick. I've been writing now professionally for over 20 years. And every single thing that I've written somehow, I believe, has led me to where I am today. So the catalyst for this podcast was actually my book series, the Confessions book series. And I have 4 books in the series. First one, Confessions, a collection of narratives from the daughters of dysfunctional families. This is what kicked things off. And once I allowed myself to harness the freedom and the courage to share what I wanted to, many books followed. But first, let me just tell you about this one really quickly. It's a collection of short stories. They are fiction, but they are based on true events. All 4 of these books are trauma informed, meaning that they are stories from the perspectives of women who were raised by emotionally immature parents. And I wrote what I wished had existed for me when I embarked on this journey of discovery, of figuring out what I had been exposed to all my life. I'm an only child. I'm an overachiever by many people's standards. But I'm just now, a week before my 49th birthday, I am firmly aware that I still have a lot of self-discovery. Because when you were raised by emotionally immature parents, a lot of things that you think are normal are not necessarily healthy. So I like to always emphasize the distinction between normal and healthy. I always give the example, if I raised my child and every morning I got him up, I smacked him on the face and gave him a fruit roll-up, that would be as normal. If I did that every single morning, I don't, thank God. If I did, though, that would be considered normal. And when my son went to school, or when he went to pre-K, or when he went to preschool, and he sat at circle time and compared stories to other kids, he would probably realize that what he had come to identify as normal was not normal. Normal for him, but it wasn't healthy. So normal can also be pathological. Normal can be dysfunctional. And so to bring it full circle, is it normal? Scratch that. Is it healthy for you to believe in your bones that you're betraying your parents if you fail to spend if you fail to spend each and every Thanksgiving and Christmas with them, if you don't do that, does that make you a bad daughter? If you don't include, say, your mother or father in the priority structure of your husband and children, are you a bad daughter? If you don't call your parent on the time frame that they desire, are you a bad daughter? There are thousands, hope not millions, but I know there are thousands of women who were raised under the shadow of their parents' expectations for obedience. And when you are exposed to something like that, your body can tell you that that's not right long before your mind does. And there's a lot that you discover when you get older that you took for granted when you were a lot younger. Second book in my series, Boundaries, a collection of narratives from women who believe in boundaries. This one was probably my most difficult one to write because boundary setting is a skill. I'm going to call it a skill. It's a skill that if you do not know how to do it effectively, will impact, for better or for worse, every aspect of your life. Third book in the series, a collection of outspoken narratives from middle-aged women. I think I mentioned a couple beats ago that I will be turning 49 next week. If I didn't mention it, it's certainly on my mind. And I would just like to say that the nuggets of wisdom in this book, the short stories, all from the perspectives of middle-aged women, are fiction, heavily impacted or influenced by reality. And the final, I should say the latest, not the final, there are more coming, a collection of extremely candid narratives from mothers in the trenches. So this is for all my mamas out there, who are fighting the good fight and trying to break the curse of generational trauma, which is no easy feat, I can tell you, as the mother of 2 teens. I started this podcast as a way to not only form a community, but to validate those of us who are living in what I like to call the in-between. On one end, you have not perfection by any means. No parent is perfect, but you have the parents who know how to genuinely connect with their children, adult children included. They make it known that their children's life was a gift, not a loan to be paid back with interest, right? Not an I love you, but you owe me, not that, but true unconditional love. Do they mess up sometimes? Yeah. These parents do fuck up too, but they also know how to repair, okay? So you have that on one end of the spectrum. On the far end of the spectrum, you have overt physical and emotional abuse. We're talking about just abhorrent practices that are just vile, okay? That no one would contest, that just about everyone universally, would agree that those parents were abusive, okay? I'm in what I like to call the in-between. The parents who, of course, did their due diligence of giving you food, paying for your college, giving you those picturesque vacations, that did everything right on paper. But as my children will likely tell you, one of my favorite sayings is 2 things can be true at the same time. So you can have great clothes, you can have an abundance of food. You can have a car with the red bow on your sweet 16th birthday. You can have all that. And you can still be instantly impacted in your guts and your nervous system by the cadence of a parent's footsteps when they come home from work. You can still be parentified. And what I mean by that is basically made to feel like you are your parent's parent, not instrumentally. They have all the bills, they got that taken care of. Although some parents do definitely milk their children for necessities, basic necessities that they, the parent, should be giving to their children and to themselves. But what about the parents who, or I'm talking specifically about the parents who do everything instrumentally, but they use you as their therapist? And how dare you not comply, right? What about those of us who are made to be the container of our parents' emotions? Those parents who basically may not admit it, but we get the message that they feel entitled to our time, to a certain position in our life. They feel entitled to hold a certain rank and position in your life, no matter how old you get. And a lot of this is unspoken, but by goodness, we get the picture. That's why I launched this podcast, for the people who, when they dare share what's bothering them or what's going on with their parent or why they feel like they're fighting uphill, those friends say, but that's your mom. Your mom's so cool. She's this, she's that. Because you and I both know that we see a side of our parents that no one else sees. They wouldn't even believe it if we told them. They love us and they trust us, these friends of ours and these people who are in our lives who support us, but that's your mom. You can't turn your back on your mom, right? So then you start to gaslight yourself. Are you crazy? No, you're not crazy. And like I said in the beginning, your emotional navigational system is doing what it is designed to do, and that is to provide data to you that something is amiss here. And so when you have been literally trained all your life, it doesn't occur to us oftentimes until we become parents or adults ourselves. We're like, wait a minute here. When does my life become mine? When does my life become mine? And this is particularly painful because this is not something that you can talk to your parents about, right? You can't talk emotional intelligence into them, right? Because they're hurting themselves. So we're going to delve into all of this in the Confessions from the Car podcast. I'm sitting in my car waiting for my daughter to get out of dance class. And in this space, I do a lot of thinking. I've done a shit ton of writing. And I figured it's now time for me to do some speaking too. So my objective is to drop a podcast every week and also share some stories, true stories. Names will be withheld for the purpose of concealing or maintaining anonymity for people who are brave enough to allow me to share their stories, because there are many. And these are the types of stories that have been the catalyst for my book series, which is available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon in ebook and paperback. So the Confessions book series, check it out. If you're looking for validation, that's what I hope to provide, validation. I have read countless enlightening books, Drama of the Gifted Child, Am I Good Enough, When You and Your Mother Can't Be Friends, Boundaries, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, all of them. I've read a good batch. And with these books, I've written what I wished, or what I think would have supplemented my healing in a way that those other books are though incredibly insightful, don't get me wrong. They reoriented my sails and got my compass going. So I will be forever grateful for those books, but they're kind of textbooky in the sense that they tell you, you know, there's research and all this. And these books are stories. Like, you know, when I realized that I was legitimately scared to go away for Christmas and leave my mom alone, I legitimately felt fear at the prospect of telling her that my husband of almost 20 years and our two teens were going to go away for Thanksgiving. I literally almost had a low-grade panic attack. That's not that's not healthy for an almost 50-year-old woman to be afraid of telling her mother that she's going with her new family, her new nuclear family. Not new. I mean, we've been married for, like I said, almost 20 years. But if that idea, that's not, that shouldn't be. And so when you don't have far end abuse, when you haven't suffered that, right? But you definitely can identify with people who have a genuine connection and share free, unconditional love with their parents. We're in the in-between, right? And there's not a lot of, there aren't a lot of resources. There definitely aren't books out there like this where the perspectives of women like us share real stories that we can relate to and validate us, right? I mean, we all want to feel less alone in this. I really truly believe that there's a silent army of us. So if you still feel like you are figuring out how to still have a relationship with your parent, if you do, while also simultaneously raising children and re-raising yourself, it's a hell of a spot to be in midlife. Some of us are in the trenches of this particular problem, challenge, you know, before we're in our 50s, right? And then there's some women who are in their 70s, men too, who are still trying to figure out how to balance that, how to mitigate that. So that's the catalyst for the Confessions from the Car podcast. And I hope that you'll come along on this journey of healing, of self-discovery, and ultimately acceptance. Because we cannot change our parents. We cannot change them. And so if there's any change to occur, it's going to have to be with us. And so I hope you will join me here every week. And be well, and hope to see you, or hope you join me on the next episode.